Following the untimely death of the sergeant during the journey, the Ebens, without any kind of authorization and explanation, take possession of the body. Skipper, the leader of the humans on several occasions, asks to get the body of his fallen comrade back. The pages of the diary that have been leaked reveal an extremely dark side of this futuristic civilization. The leader seems larger and more aggressive than the others. Maybe he could have reptilian genetics. He seems to be the boss, similar to the humans' leader as the team commander. His voice, although after all this time they still can't understand any words, is harsh and with a tone that is different from the rest. One of the human woman scientists claims the leader has an attitude. The leader has requested many things from them, most of which they have provided. One strange thing is their blood. He wanted all of them to supply a blood sample. EB2, the Eben woman guide, explained that the blood was necessary for them to supply any medicine to them if they should ever need it. One of the male human doctors felt that a blood sample might just be used for other purposes, like cloning them and replacing them. They took all the sergeant's blood. They were confronted by several Ebens. EB3, the Eben leader, showed up and they explained that they wanted the body of the sergeant. EB3 told them the body was in storage and they could not take it. EB2 showed up with the leader. EB2 was extremely polite and asked them to wait. She used the word please several times. In fact, she actually used the English word please. The leader of the humans told EB2 that they wanted their friend's body and they wanted to examine it. EB2 translated that to the leader. There was a long exchange of words between the two. Finally, EB2, who seemed very frustrated, told us that the leader would like us to go to another location and speak with another Eben, a doctor, about the body of the sergeant. About 20 minutes later, 3 Ebens showed up. One of the Ebens identified himself as a doctor and spoke very good English. This doctor had a strange-sounding voice, almost like a human's voice without a high-pitch accent. He told them that the scientists have done experiments with the sergeant's body because they considered it an honor to have such a specimen to work with. The doctor told them they have used the sergeant's body to create a type of cloned human being. They demanded to see the body. The doctor explained that the body was gone and that all the blood and organs were taken out and used to clone other beings. The use of the word beings really scared them. The doctor, who was extremely straightforward, told them that nothing further would happen with the body, but advised them that very little was left of the body. They were escorted by EB2 to the laboratory facility. The building looked like a large, single-story, windowless school. They arrived in a room with white walls. They met with another Eben, English-speaking doctor. They saw many other Ebens, all dressed in a bluish-coloured one-piece suit. The doctor told them that all the experiments were done inside this building. They were led into another room where there were rows of containers looking like glass bathtubs. Inside each bathtub were bodies. They were shocked. Hundreds of bodies, strange-looking bodies, not human bodies, at least not all of them. These were hideous-looking creatures. They asked the doctor what type of creatures were inside these tubs. The doctor told them that these creatures came from other planets. They asked the doctor, were these creatures alive when they arrived, or did the Ebens bring them here dead? The doctor said all the creatures were brought to the planet alive. The doctor said that these beings were brought here for experiments. These creatures are not intelligent beings. EB2 then used the word animals. Okay, now I understand. All these creatures are animals from other planets. I then asked if there were any intelligent creatures in this building. The doctor said yes, but that all of them were dead when they arrived on Serpo. They asked to see these creatures. The doctor corrected them by saying beings. They figured creatures equals animals, and beings are like humans. They first wrote down the description of these creatures inside these tubs. They are not all alike. The first creature they had seen inside the tub looks like a porcupine. It appears to have a tube placed inside of it. The tube leads to a box underneath the tub. The second creature they seen has a large head, big, deep-set eyes, no ears, a mouth, but no teeth. It is about 5 feet long and has 2 lower legs, but no feet. It has 2 arms, but it doesn't appear to have any elbows. It has hands, but no fingers. This creature also has a tube going through it. The next creature looked like nothing they could compare it to. It had blood-red skin, 2 spots in the middle, maybe eyes, no arms or legs. These had a very strange odor. The skin appeared to be blotchy with scales, maybe like a fish. The next creature was human-like, but the skin was white, not pale skin white, the color white. The skin was wrinkled. The head was large, with 2 eyes, 2 ears, and a mouth. The neck was very small. The head almost looked as if it sat on the lower torso. The chest was thin, with large bone-like protrusions. The arms were curled with hands, but no thumbs. The legs were also curled with feet, but only 3 toes. They couldn't look at any more creatures. They came into a room that looked like a hospital room. There were many Ebens and advanced hospital-styled beds. In each bed was a living being, as the doctor called it. The doctor told them that each being was alive and well cared for. They asked the doctor if these beings were ill or sick. EB2 had to translate that, but the doctor said, no, they are being lived. The 3 of them seemed really stunned by that word. I asked EB2 what the doctor meant. EB2 then used the word grown. They asked the doctor if these beings were being grown like a plant. The doctor said, yes, that is a good comparison. They asked the doctor how they are grown. The doctor said that certain parts of other beings were used to grow these beings like cloning, and that he could not explain the process in English because he didn't know the words. The Ebens must have found a way to grow cells and to make them into living beings. I then asked the doctor if the sergeant's body was used to create a being. The doctor said yes and showed us the being. They were shocked. This being, with their teammates, blood and cells, looked like a large, tall Eben, but the hands and legs were similar to humans. They told the doctor that they would like to leave. EB2 saw that they were upset and touched the leader's hand. Instantly, he felt concerned. EB2 was really concerned about what they saw. They travelled outside this building, a building that they did not wish to see again. The Ebens are not the humane civilization they thought they were, but they must say they didn't hide anything. The doctor spoke straight to them. The Ebens, they don't know how to lie. The bright suns of the Eben planet also presented problems. Although they had sunglasses, they still suffered from the bright sunlight and the danger of sun exposure. The radiation levels of the planet was a little higher than that of Earth. They were careful to cover their bodies at all times. The Ebens had no forms of refrigeration except in industry. The temperature of the planet at the center portion stayed between 94 degrees and 115 degrees. They did have clouds and rain, but not frequently. At the northern hemisphere of the planet, the temperature dropped to between 55 and 80 degrees. This was too cool for the Ebens. or at least most. Our team did find Ebens living in the north, but in very small villages. Our team eventually relocated to the north in order to stay cool. The ground transportation used by our team was similar to a helicopter. The power system was a sealed energy device that provided electrical power and lift for the craft. It was very easy to fly, and our pilots learned the system within days. The Ebens did have vehicles, which floated above the ground and did not have any tires or wheels. There were leaders, but no real form of government. There was virtually no crime seen by the team. They had an army, which also acted as the police force. But no guns or weapons of any type were seen by our team. There were regular meetings within each small community. There was one large community, which acted as the central point of the civilization. All the industry was at this one large community. There was no money. Every Eben was issued what they needed. No stores, malls or shopping locations. There were central distribution centers where Ebens went to obtain items of needs. All Ebens worked in some capacity. Children were kept very isolated. The only trouble our team members got into was when they attempted to photograph Eben children. The army politely escorted them away and cautioned them not to do it again. The Eben Civilization was estimated to be about 10,000 years old. They evolved from another planet, not on Serpo. The original home planet of the Ebens was threatened with extreme volcanic activity. The Ebens had to relocate to Serpo in order to protect their civilization. This occurred some 5,000 years ago. The Ebens had a great interplanetary battle with another race about 3,000 years ago. The Ebens lost many thousands in their battle. The Ebens completely eliminated all of their enemies. The Ebens have never fought another war since. The Ebens have been space travelers for the past 2,000 years. The Ebens first visited Earth about 2,000 years ago. Why does the Eben population number only about 650,000? The Ebens have a very stable, structured civilization. Each male has a mate. They are allowed to reproduce, in somewhat the same sexual way we do, but are limited to only a specific number of children. Our team never saw a family with more than 2 children. The Eben civilization was so structured that they planned the birth of each and every child, spacing them apart to allow the proper social grouping of the civilization. Eben children matured at a super rate compared to Earth children. Our team watched live births, attended to by an Eben doctor, and then watched the development of the child over a period of time, team members' time. They matured at an alarming rate. The Ebens had scientists, doctors, and technicians. There was one educational facility on the planet. If one was chosen, you attended the facility and learned the job one was best qualified and suited for. Although it was extremely difficult to judge or measure, the team estimated each Eben's IQ to be 165. The Ebens had no single ruler. There was a council of governors, which the team named. This group controlled every single action on the planet. The members of the council seemed to have been around for a long time. Since Ebens didn't age, or at least our team couldn't detect aging, it was difficult to judge the age of each member. There were about 100 different villages or living locations for the Ebens. The Ebens only used a small portion of their planet. They did mine minerals in remote areas of the planet and had a large industrial plant in the southern portion of the planet near a body of water. Our team determined this plant had some sort of hydroelectrical operation. The Ebens developed a different type of electrical and propulsion system. It was unknown to our team, and I don't think we ever really understood it. They were able to tap into a vacuum and bring back an enormous amount of energy from that vacuum. Our team's living quarters, which consisted of several small buildings, contained electricity powered by a small box. This small box supplied all the power our team needed. Ironically, the electrical equipment our team brought on the trip worked using their power source only. Ebens did die. Our team members saw deaths, some from accidents and some from natural causes. The Ebens buried the bodies, similar to our method. Our team saw 2 air accidents involving their intraplanet flying vehicle. The Ebens worshipped a supreme being. It appeared to be some sort of deity relating to the universe. They conducted daily services, normally at the end of the first work period. They had a building or church they entered to worship. Our team left Earth in a large Eben spacecraft and flew to Serpo in approximately 9 months by our team's measurement of time. Upon our team's return, they travelled on a newer Eben craft. The time estimated by our team for the return was 7 months. How did the Ebens advance so quickly? Nothing was written about this. But Earth-based scientists summarized that since the Eben culture consisted of just one species, their advancement excelled and accelerated more rapidly than a civilization that consisted of different species, different languages, etc. Why are there only 650,000 in the Eben civilization? Again, the team never found the answer, except that many hundreds of thousands of Ebens died in the Great War. Earth-based social behavior? Specialists surmised that the Eben civilization was structured to accommodate their own needs. Our team did find limited supplies of commodities on their planet. Large buildings were used to harvest food products. The soil wasn't rich in a lot of minerals. Ebens used a form of organic agriculture to harvest food items. Maybe the Ebens were scared that if they overpopulated the planet, they couldn't provide for their citizens. This is only my idea, and not anything written in the official records. As to the Eben culture, they had a form of musical entertainment. The music sounded like tonal rhythms. They also listened to a type of chanting. The Ebens were dancers. They celebrated certain work periods with a ritual dance. The Ebens would form a circle and dance around, listening to the chanting type of music. The music was played on bells and drums or something similar to them. There were no televisions, radio stations, or anything like that. The Ebens played a game, something like soccer, but with a larger ball. The object was to kick the ball down a field into a goal. The game had very strange rules, and games lasted for a very long time. They also had another game, mostly played by the children, that consisted of making formations with groups of Ebens. They seemed to really enjoy the game, but our team found little understanding of the game. Although the Eben civilization had no televisions, radios, etc., each Eben had a small device belted to their waists. This device gave orders to perform a particular task, news of pending events, etc. The device displayed a screen, similar to a television screen, but in a 3D style format. Our team brought back one of these devices. I think today we could compare it to a Palm Pilot or a smartphone. The Ebens energy device was analysed over and over again by our team. Since our team did not have access to scientific microscopes or other measuring equipment, we could not understand the function of the energy device. But regardless of the electrical demand, the Eben energy device provided the proper current and wattage. Our team surmised the device had some sort of regulator that sensed the required current, wattage, and then supplied that specific amount. Note, our team members brought back 2 energy devices for analysis. Serpo moved around one sun only. The other sun was within the two orbits. As I said before, there are hundreds of pages of calculations in the debriefing explaining all of this. It took our linguist specialists several years to adequately establish a form of communication with the Ebens. A group of Ebens learned to understand English and a few other Earth languages. This group contained the travelers, as our team called them. Our team members connected themselves with the travelers. Although the team couldn't always understand their responses, the Eben travelers understood our team most of the time. During this time period, the only exchange of information was simple. The Ebens, not being able to completely explain something to our team, used a form of sign language by pointing to the object or item they wished to explain and made hand movements. Our team, 2 members, eventually grasped that method of communication. However, our team didn't receive much information from the Ebens during this time period. The travelers, the very few who understood English, numbered about 30, did not fully understand all words in our language. Later, the Ebens called our language too complicated and difficult to understand. We eventually determined the Eben tonal language to be very complicated and extremely hard to translate. We were able to record their language and then play it back, listening to each tonal dialect and each tonal bar. Eventually, we crudely translated some of the language. We started with simple items, for example, the flying object that they used to travel around their planet on. Then things like houses, roads, food, clothing, their suns, their planet, etc. Although we did establish some form of communication, it was crude and not always helpful for our team when something complicated happened.